All right, so welcome to your personalized deep dive. And today we're looking at something that's causing a lot of debate, Zambia's digital economy, and a big thanks to Brian Matambo for sponsoring this deep dive with us.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so we're kind of looking at this weird paradox, right? We have Zambia, a country with so much creative talent, producing all this digital content, but they can't seem to make money from it on that global stage.
Yeah.
It's their reality right now, and we're going to try and figure out exactly why. We've got a couple of sources for you today.
Okay.
The first one is this National Digital Transformation Strategy 2023 to 2027. It's this pretty dense document directly from the Zambian government, and it outlines all their big digital goals that they want to achieve. And then our second source is an article that's pretty blunt. It's called Draconian Banking Regulations Are Locking Zambian Creators Out of the Global Digital Economy.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, the contrast between those two sources is pretty stark. You know, on the one hand, you have the government talking about this grand vision of digital progress. And then on the other hand, you have what's actually happening.
Right.
Where creators are basically locked out of this $16.5 trillion global market.
Yeah, it's like this digital tug of war.
Yeah.
So let's start with that National Digital Transformation Strategy. On the surface, it seems pretty ambitious.
It does.
You know, it's comprehensive. 5 key pillars: digital infrastructure, digital platforms, digital services, digital literacy and skills, and digital innovation and entrepreneurship. They want 92% mobile network coverage, 80% internet penetration by 2026.
That's a lot.
Yeah, digital transformation centers in every district, e-government, smart cities. The whole works. It sounds pretty impressive.
It does sound impressive. And I mean, to be fair, they do cover a lot of ground in that document.
Right.
But I think the real interesting thing here is what's missing from this vision, you know?
Okay, I like that.
What they kind of leave out. The document's weirdly silent on a super important part of this whole digital transformation.
What's that?
International payments.
Yeah, that's a pretty big oversight, especially if we're talking about creators trying to make a living in this digital age.
Exactly. It's like building this state-of-the-art highway, but forgetting to connect it to other roads.
Right.
You know?
Makes sense.
This leads nowhere.
Yeah, and that's where our second source comes in. This article really highlights, the frustrations of these Zambian creators who are stuck because of these old-fashioned banking regulations.
Yeah, it's frustrating. The article paints a clear picture. You've got these talented Zambians creating content, building businesses, really trying to tap into this global digital economy.
Right.
But they hit a wall, and that wall is the Bank of Zambia, or BASI regulations.
The BOSI. So while creators in places like Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, they're making money through YouTube's partner program and Amazon and all these other platforms,
Yeah.
Zambians are kind of left out just watching.
Yeah, exactly. And the issue really comes down to this. Zambian banks, because of these BOSI regulations, just can't receive payments from a lot of these big global companies.
Can you give us some specific examples?
Yeah, sure. So take PayPal, for instance. Zambians can send money through PayPal, no problem. But receiving it, that's a whole other story.
Ah, okay.
Same thing with Wise. It's another popular platform for international payments.
Yeah.
But again, it's a one-way street. You can send it out, but you can't receive it.
So what are these creators supposed to do? Just give up on making a global income?
Well, the article highlights some pretty sad stories of creators who have to use third parties in other countries to get their money. But this workaround comes at a cost.
Oh, I bet. What kind of challenges do they face?
We're talking high fees, long delays, and even the risk of their funds being frozen. It's not just inconvenient, it's really exploitative.
Yeah, it's sad to think that all these talented people are kind of being punished just because of where they live and the financial systems they're stuck with. It makes you wonder, why is the Bank of Zambia, the BOSI, so resistant to change?
Well, the article kind of suggests that the BOSI has been slow to adapt to this whole, digital world that we live in. They seem to be protecting the interests of these traditional banks.
Right.
Which, let's face it, they aren't really known for being, super flexible or innovative.
It's like they're stuck in the past while everyone else is embracing, mobile payments and fintech and the whole digital revolution.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, think about it. While countries like Kenya have seen this massive mobile money revolution with M-Pesa, It's a platform that lets people deposit, withdraw, transfer money, pay for stuff easily all on their phones.
Right.
And Nigeria has these fintech unicorns, which are basically these privately held startup companies worth over $1 billion.
Right.
And Zambia's financial sector seems to be content with just keeping things the way they are.
It's interesting that you mentioned M-Pesa and fintech unicorns. I think those are concepts that some of our listeners might not be super familiar with. Can you maybe just explain them a little bit more?
Yeah, totally. So fintech is short for financial technology, and it's basically companies that are using tech to kind of shake up these traditional financial services.
Okay.
And M-Pesa is a perfect example.
Okay.
It's a mobile banking platform that has totally changed the lives of millions of Kenyans, a lot of whom couldn't even access the normal banking system before.
Right.
Fintech unicorns are those companies that start small, but then they grow super fast and become worth over $1 billion, which shows just how big of an impact they have and their potential.
So it sounds like while Zambia's banking sector is focused on not rocking the boat, other countries are embracing innovation and kind of reaping the benefits.
Exactly. And that leads us to something that could be a real game changer for Zambia: open banking.
Okay, I've heard that term before, open banking, but honestly, I'm not totally sure what it means.
Right.
Could you explain it?
Yeah, sure. So imagine a world where you, as the consumer, have total control over your own financial data.
Okay.
You can let these trustworthy third-party apps and services access your banking info securely and only with your permission. That's basically what open banking is.
So instead of my financial data being tracked in one bank, it becomes more portable, more accessible, giving me more control and helping me make smarter decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this could lead to all sorts of new financial products and services that are specifically designed for what you need.
Now I'm starting to see the possibilities here.
Yeah.
But how would open banking address the problems that Zambia created?
Well, if it's done right, open banking can create new ways to experience. Imagine you have an Zambian Etsy shop owner who wants to get paid by customers from all over the world. With open banking, they could connect their local bank account to a payment platform that's specifically made for these kinds of cross-border transactions.
Okay.
They could bypass the restrictions from these traditional banks.
So instead of having to rely on those risky third-party solutions, they could operate within a more regulated, secure system.
Exactly. It's all about making a financial system that's more inclusive and more efficient, one that benefits everyone.
It sounds promising, but I'm sure there are some challenges, some potential downsides we should consider too.
Right.
What do you think?
You're right. Open banking isn't some kind of magical solution. I mean, one of the biggest concerns is data security and privacy. There's always a risk when you're sharing financial info with third parties, so you need really strong security measures and clear regulations.
So it's like walking a tightrope between encouraging innovation and making sure people are protected.
Exactly. And then there's also the whole question of infrastructure and digital literacy. For open banking to actually work, Zambia needs to invest in solid digital infrastructure and make sure its citizens know how to use all this new technology.
So it's complex.
Yeah.
Lots of different factors. But I think it's clear that doing nothing just isn't an option.
No, it's not.
Zambia's digital economy is being held back by these outdated regulations.
I agree. The cost of not doing anything is just too high. Zambia risks falling behind other African countries, missing out on economic opportunities, and basically stifling the creativity and entrepreneurial spirit of its people.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation, I think. We've seen the systemic issues, we've seen the human impact, and we've even talked about potential solutions. But now we want to hear from you, our listener. So we've talked about Zambia's big digital dreams and then the roadblocks creators are facing and even some solutions like open banking. But now we want to know what you think. What are your first impressions of all this? What jumps out as like the most urgent problem?
Yeah, and it brings up a big question for me. If you could talk to the Bank of Zambia, what would be your top advice for them to fix this and help Zambia's creators? It's complicated, right? There's no simple answer, but I'd love to hear what stands out to you.
Yeah, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the details, but let's imagine we're in a room with the people making decisions. What's the one thing you want them to remember from this whole discussion?
Yeah, and let's think about the big picture, the long-term vision for Zambia's digital economy. Is it just about catching up to other African countries, or could Zambia maybe find its own special place in the global digital world?
This deep dive is really just the start of a much bigger conversation. And to help you explore further, we'll post some keywords on our website. Things like open banking in Africa and fintech solutions for developing economies and the future of digital trade, just to get you started.
And as always, we really want you to share your thoughts and keep the conversation going online. You can find us on Mention Platform hashtag. We love hearing different perspectives and even, sparking a bit of a debate.
And a huge thank you to Brian Matambo for making this deep dive possible.
And to you, our listener, for joining us as we explored this digital dilemma in Zambia.
Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.